Let everybody get settled. I've been asked to let you know we do have a full house. We don't right this minute, but at some point we might ask you to kind of squeeze together to seats in the middle. Thanks for joining us here today. I'm Jean Herb. I'm a research administrator here at the Blaustein School. Thanks for coming to New Brunswick and joining us here at Rutgers University. I have the opportunity to point out a couple important things to you, which is if you have not been scolded already, you're not allowed to have food here in the forum except for a bottle of water. The other scolding is that you're welcome to use cell phones and to talk loudly when we're out here in the atrium, but when we're in breakout sessions in hallways near classrooms, please try to be as quiet as you can because we do have a very heavy class schedule today. In your packet is an evaluation form, which if towards the end of the day, if you could fill that out, there'll be a basket up here. If you could put that in, also if you could put your name tags in there at the end of the day too, we'll be sure to recycle them. Let me look at my important things. Okay. We have a very busy agenda today, and I'd like to start off by recognizing Governor Florio, who's joining us for the entire day, and we'll be joined by Governor Kane at lunchtime. Our keynote speaker, Captain Tony Miller, is also here for the entire day and will be speaking at lunch. And I'd also like to just take a minute to thank Eric Svensson from PSE&G because pulling together this workshop was his idea, or his fault, depending on how you want to look at it, and we thank him for his support and his vision for pulling this together. It's always an honor to have the opportunity to introduce your boss, and today is the same for me. I'd like to introduce my boss, Dean James Hughes, Dr. Jim Hughes, who is the Dean of the Blaustein School of Planning and Public Policy here at Rutgers University. He was appointed to the position in 1995 and has been on the faculty since 1971. Since '88, he's been the director of the Rutgers Regional Report, which is now the Advanced Rutgers Report, which over its 23-year tenure has produced more than 35 major economic, demographic, and housing studies in New Jersey and also in the New York region. Dr. Hughes is nationally recognized academic expert on demographics, on housing, and on regional economies. He's the author or the co-author of 33 books and monographs, more than 150 scholarly articles, most all generally focused on housing, demographics, economic development patterns. He was recently a member of Governor Christie's Housing Task Force, and in the past he has served on the Governor's Commission on Jobs, Growth, and Economic Development, the Governor's Logistics Council, and the Real Estate Task Force of the Governor's Economic Master Plan Commission. Under Dean Hughes' leadership, the Blaustein School is currently celebrating its 20th anniversary. We invite you to check out our website, www.policy.rutgers.edu. And there's also some materials out on the front desk that will walk you through some of the celebratory activities for this academic year, and hope that you can join us. And it's quite an exciting array of activities between now and June, so please join us. On a personal note, I want to point out that my colleague from the School of Environmental Biological Sciences, Dr. Marjorie Kaplan, and I began this conversation about this critical issue of climate change adaptation with Dean Hughes more than 2 years ago, when both Marjorie and I were still working for the state of New Jersey. I appreciate Dean Hughes' vision and his insight to continue the support for the Blaustein School on this important issue in partnership with our friends and Dean Goodman at the School of Environmental Biological Sciences. And thank you, Dean Hughes, for continuing our work in this area.
Thank you, Jean, for that very kind introduction. I do appreciate the fact that you pointed out that I joined the faculty in 1971. I now stand as living proof that you are only young once, but you can be immature forever. It's certainly my pleasure to welcome you to the Blaustein School to begin what I hope will be the first of many conversations on the critical issue of climate change preparedness in New Jersey. I would like to extend my thanks to PSE&G for making today's event possible, and the school and Bob and I look forward to working with them in the future on developing sound policies on all of the topics being discussed today. Let me just take a moment to start with a broad global macroeconomic perspective. Since I'm an economic numbers guy, this is certainly the appropriate place for me to start. I think as we all realize, New Jersey now confronts intense global and national economic competition. It is really a take-no-prisoners competitive environment. The bottom line is that jobs and economic development are now every state's top priority. America's post-recession statistics illustrate this new economic normal. This Thursday, December 1st, marks the 30th month since the start of the national recovery. I think more people in New Jersey believe in flying saucers than believe the recovery is 30 months old. In fact, I think more people in New Jersey believe they were abducted by aliens than believe the recovery is 30 months old. Well, why is this the case? Well, the great 2007-2009 recession was nothing less than a full metal jacket national meltdown. America lost an unprecedented 8.8 million private sector jobs. Now, since the end of the recession, the nation has recovered just 2.8 million jobs, less than 1/3 of the losses suffered during the downturn. So, after 2.5 years of recovery, America still faces an employment deficit of nearly 6.1 million jobs. So we have to add nearly 6.1 million jobs just to get back to where we were in December 2007, the start of the recession. So we are really looking at 2015 or 2016 before full recovery is achieved. Now, each state has a proportionally similar deficit to overcome. Consequently, a second war between the states is taking place and will continue to take place. Now, historically, states sought a competitive locational edge in such areas as taxation, business climate, quality of life, and other key variables. But these traditional areas of attraction will now be joined by effective adaptation to climate change. Those states that are planning for climate change will have a competitive edge in winning the economic future. Fortunately, for several decades, New Jersey has recognized that protection of the environment and natural resources made the state highly attractive for many key economic sectors that have the ability to locate wherever they want to be. Thanks in part to the vision of leaders such as Governor Florio and Governor Kane, our state has had a long history of being a national leader in groundbreaking policies that not only protect our environment and natural resources, but also ensured that New Jersey has a high quality of life that can attract an educated workforce and sophisticated knowledge-based economic activities. Thus, our historic environmental vision made the state an attractive place for doing business and creating economic opportunities. Now, I have no doubt that New Jersey will take on the challenge of preparing for the impact of climate change with the same gusto and ingenuity we have historically addressed other environmental challenges. It is really impressive to see so many people here today representing a wide range of public and private sector interests, academic disciplines, and decision makers. And I am particularly pleased to see that Blaustein students are also here to participate in and absorb the discussions of the vital public policy issues to be addressed today. Our collective efforts moving forward from today's conference really demand an intersection of science with public policy, which is why I and the Blaustein School are pleased to join Dean Robert M. Goodman of the School of Environmental and Biological Sciences to engage in today's rigorous policy discussions. In the face of significant time constraints, I'm going to keep his introduction brief. His impressive bio is in your packets, and I urge you to really look at it. Very, very impressive career achievements. Suffice it to say here, Bob is the Executive Dean of the School of Environmental and Biological Sciences. as well as the Executive Dean of Agricultural and Natural Resources and Executive Director of the Agricultural Experiment Station. He is a plant biologist and virologist and is a fellow of the American Association for the Advancement of Science. So let me now turn this over to Bob.
Thanks, Jim, and welcome, everybody. So I'm a microbiologist, and so whatever happens today, as I focus on my microbial communities around in the ocean and the soil, I'm an optimist. Actually, Jim did a pretty good job of almost being optimistic. So I'm not going to give you a mini lecture on microbiology. I am just going to say welcome on behalf of our school and faculty and our students to all of you. And again, as with Jim, thanks to PSE&G for sponsoring this important event. Today's conference forum is emblematic of what we stress here and what we do best at your university, the State University of New Jersey. The critical nature of interdisciplinary work to addressing key issues facing our society, the importance of focus on the fact that the really important things, the complex things that face our society academically happen at academic intersections. And so it's really important to me and to Jim and to others that this institution has very low barriers for allowing disciplines to come together at these important intersections. And also the imperative and the responsibility to integrate sound science into decision making. Rutgers faculty span a very broad spectrum of disciplines that are pertinent to today's discussion, investigating the past, developing approaches to predicting or at least estimating future events, in climate through expertise in such areas as atmospheric sciences, oceanography, geology, geography, and of course policy. Our faculty are engaged in aspects of understanding the implications of climate change on terrestrial and marine ecosystems and the organisms that inhabit those systems, including the human dimensions of climate change. As educators, our mission is to link our discoveries with the next generation, and I'm delighted to see among our audience students included in today's discussions. As the land-grant institution of New Jersey, we have a long history and a very important role in engaging with issues related to the quality of life of New Jersey's residents. Global climate change poses a tremendous challenge for New Jersey, the most densely populated state in the country with its incredibly rich biodiversity and extensive coastal and tidal waterways. Your participation here today provides us with a unique opportunity to move forward and set us on a course that can help us be proactive and plan for these changes. Your interest is evident. Your resolve is clear. By being here, you demonstrate your commitment to developing the pathway for adaptation to climate change here in New Jersey. I'm delighted to be with you, and I'm delighted that you are all here. And I thank each and every one of you for your presence, and to the speakers and panel members, I thank you for your preparation and your commitment to furthering our understanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. It is now my great pleasure to introduce Ann E. Hoskins, Senior Vice President, Public Affairs and Sustainability at PSE&G Services. Again, her full and extraordinarily impressive bio is in your packet, and please review that. Suffice it to say, her law degree is from Harvard, and unfortunately, her public affairs degree is from Princeton and not the Blaustein School. She is responsible for PSEG's federal and state governmental affairs, corporate philanthropy, and sustainability, and leads the development of public policy positions on issues affecting the company. She is a trustee of the Nature Conservancy of New Jersey and is on the board of directors of New Jersey Future. Ann?
Thank you and welcome everyone. And I really am happy that Jean identified Eric Svensson because he really should be standing here. Eric thought of this idea along with Les Fernari and Angela Ortiz, who are also in the audience, well over a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And he said how important he thought it was as things were starting to go south in Washington on the climate policy front that we take some action in New Jersey to make sure that we are prepared in our state as we start to face these changes that we're seeing in our climate. And coincident with that, Eric at the time was on the board of Clean Air, Cool Planet, which is the other organization in addition to Rutgers who has put together this event. I do want to take a second just to identify Adam Markham and ask Adam maybe to stand because he's going to be here throughout the day, and I think it's important, hopefully, for all of you in New Jersey to get to know, and also Roger Stevenson as well from Clean Air, Cool Planet, get to know them because now I've actually succeeded Eric on that board, and it's a really important small but mighty institution whose purpose really is to try to work with local communities and states in the Northeast to help develop and support strategies related to climate change. And so to me, it's very powerful that we have our leading institution here in New Jersey, Rutgers, working together with a very important nonprofit, Clean Air, Cool Planet, to address the issue of climate change adaptation. Just for a moment on PSEG, we are very proud to be sponsoring this, again, working with two institutions that we feel very highly about and have great respect for, but also because we feel already the impacts of climate change. We've been a leading advocate on the policy front for climate change policies for some time, but we're also one of the largest investors in the state on infrastructure. And I can tell you personally, having spent now 2 weeks of my life in the last few months on storm restoration, how significant climate change is to industries across the state, as well as to the millions of people and businesses who are affected by those storms. And while we don't know, whether those storms were caused by climate change, and we're not going to get into a debate about that today, we certainly know that the climate is changing. We know that it has significant, very important impacts on our state, on our residents, on the people